was ingest the data and write to a database, right? So it wasn't a huge dollar value, and they saw a much better ROI for their costs. They talked about cloud readiness. They weren't ready to go to the cloud yet because there's costs associated with it. But they saw how this kind of set them up for if they ever move to that point. And again, I talked about the scalability, the flexibility, and the cost effectiveness already. They are no longer fearful of bringing in additional equipment and additional inputs of data into their SCADA infrastructure because they know it's going to work. We set up the front end so it automatically, things self-subscribe to MQTT as they become through Sparkplug B, excuse me. As soon as they're available at the broker, everything self-subscribes and it creates the screens that are required, the historical points that are required, and KPI calculations dynamically as new data is added. So super helpful.
Okay. How's this for transition? You mentioned being fearful. Early in the presentation, you talked about cybersecurity and how this can help with your strengthening your cybersecurity within the plant. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I think we're coming up to time, so I'm going to run through it. But MQTT inherently it can be configured to be secure, and it's not just on the protocol, but it's also on the broker software that you use, right? So it supports. We talked about TLS certification right out of the box. If you're using, for example, Mosquito, go to the Mosquito config, set it, and the settings are right there. Access controls are supported again through an ACL file. The free Mosquito supports it, as do things like EMQX, I believe it is, and HiveMQ. And one of the big things is you can minimize that attack vector. So you can keep that broker right behind a firewall DMZ, and you only have to harden maybe that broker. So everything can sort of talk to it, and that's a part you don't have to worry about hardening your entire floor. You just have that one attack vector you have to harden, right? So you can put in the proper firewalls and whatnot in there. So you're not exposing. With the introduction of MQTT, you don't have to expose the whole network. There's just that one piece that you got to protect.
Yep. Okay. What are some of you talked about, the transition plan earlier. Just cover, kind of in summary, what the major steps are for evolving the shop floor data infrastructure.
Sure. And we talked about that last example, right? Yeah. There's a couple of things. Everybody wants these huge rollout plans. We got phased, and we're going to do. Everyone tries to boil the ocean all at once. Don't wait for that perfect infrastructure. If you want to move down that path to modernization, MQTT is the way to go. And you got to start somewhere, right? So don't wait for that perfect infrastructure. See what you have, and then again, layer that modern technology on it. One of the biggest things is, will I lose my data while we're doing the transition? There is a clear path to how you keep operations running while you're going through and deploying it. And MQTT is the perfect way to do that, because again, as I've highlighted, everything's open, so you can go through and work on these implementations in parallel. The big thing, though, which is very different from legacy systems, older systems that were very proprietary, the inherent open nature of MQTT allows these digital transformations to actually focus on the people as much as the technology. So getting the